Good evening, everybody. Oops. And just want to say thank you very much for all the messages about my dad. My dad is now out of hospital and doing okay. So thank you for that. Also, actually, he just walked into the room uh, watching the tennis. So there you go for him. Also, thank you very much for everyone who sent me best wishes for the for the extension for this for the next 3 years. So we got funding for the next 3 years. All we're trying to do basically is to help people, and we don't charge for it. It's all free of charge. All what we ask is they just leave us a little review, and that's it. That's all we ask for. Anyway, I have got somebody tonight who is kindly came in the bit of short notice. I think it was short notice in my case. And she's Jennifer. And Jennifer, can you tell everybody about your book? Not many people, know about your book, and I think everybody needs to.
Well, it hasn't come out yet, so they probably wouldn't know about it yet. Um, my book is called Journey to My Daughter, and it is about my journey of how we found my daughter. Kind of superficially, it's about my deciding to have a child and then going through a couple of miscarriages. And then eventually it's deciding to adopt. And through our adoption journey, where kind of everything that could go wrong went wrong. But there's beyond that, there's kind of a sub message and a sub theme to the book that's really about kind of listening to the universe and signs that things aren't going quite right, and paying attention to those signs and allowing them to help you kind of get back to the path that you're supposed to be on.
Are you spiritual?
Not particularly spiritual, but a little bit.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
becoming more spiritual over time.
yeah. Because you keep mentioning about following the path, and I thought you kind of like was spiritual, kind of spiritual person. Um,
Yeah.
I get a lot of people who come on here regularly, regular people, and they come on there and they're talking about their spiritual life, their journey, and everything. And let me, so, so really, what happened was with your daughter was that you having problems through birth with your daughter, or was it?
Was I ever, I'm sorry, what?
So, what was the actual? So let's start from the beginning. So you kind of like had your daughter, yes, yeah,
We adopted my daughter.
daughter, yeah,
She um what happened was we decided to have a child, and then, like I said, I had a couple of miscarriages, and then we decided to adopt. And when we decided to adopt, I wanted to adopt internationally. I'm from the United States. I'm from
mm,
Texas. Well, at the time I was living in Chicago,
mm,
and I didn't want to adopt domestically here because the way they do it here is that they match families to a pregnant birth mom. And I was kind of deathly afraid that I would become too attached to a birth mom and then she would change her mind and decide to keep the child. So I
mm,
decided I wanted to adopt internationally. And I went on this just crazy journey of searching through international adoption, trying to find the best match for me and my husband. And that's where kind of the listening to the universe kind of came in, was because I had my own mind and my own ideas about the way this was going to work and the way this was going to happen, and it was going to happen fast, and it was going to be the country that I wanted to go to. And then nothing cooperated. First I decided I wanted to go to China, but my greatest priority was that this happened fast. I wanted to be done. I wanted to be a mom. I was ready. And everywhere I looked into, every agency I talked to that dealt with China, they said it was going to be a minimum of 2 years. And I kept saying, there's got to be a shortcut. There's got to be a back door here. And I just kept pushing ahead. I'm like, I'm going to find the agency that's going to get me done quicker. And I refused to listen to these
mm.
signs that were telling me you should be looking somewhere else. And I finally talked to an agency. This was just an example from the book. I finally talked to an agency who said, China's tough. Have you ever thought about going to Vietnam? And I said, no. In the United States, there's a major stigma with Vietnam. You can't say the word Vietnam without thinking of the war. And I said, never occurred to me to go to Vietnam. And she said, well, there's a lot of the same benefits as going to China, but it's different. They have a different process and you can be done in like 7 months. And I was like, my shortcut. There's my shortcut that I've been
Mm.
looking for. But it took me a really long time to get there. It took me a long time to acknowledge that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I went to Vietnam and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And it was
So
just
what? So what went wrong then? Tell us.
well,
Tell us the scenario.
I mean, I can't, you don't have long enough for me to tell you everything that went wrong.
Yeah. Right.
But I can give you a couple examples.
Right.
I
Okay.
was given a referral to a specific child. The first thing was I was given a referral to a specific child. Her name was Viet. And I was told I was going to this province of Lang Son to get Viet. And I got there. And first of all, there was a facilitator who was supposed to pick me up, and she wasn't there. So here I am in the Hanoi airport by myself. I was 30 years old and very naive, never really been out of the country before. And there's nobody there to pick me up. And I had to figure out how to get to my hotel. Well, I hadn't written down the name of the facilitator or the name of the hotel or anything because they were just supposed to be there to pick me up. So I figured it out. I got there, and then there was a note from the facilitator at the hotel saying, I'll meet you here tonight. No time, no location, just I'll be here tonight. And it said, oh, by the way, Viet is sick. She has hepatitis B. We found another child for you. And I was like, wait a minute.
What's going on there?
I've been walking around with this little picture of Viet, showing her to every person I've encountered for the last 2 weeks. I'm in love with this picture of Viet. And now you tell me it's a different baby. So that's just like one example, but the entire trip was like this. Every time there was something that was supposed to be, it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so eventually I came home, and I went and I saw a baby up in the province of Tai Nguyen. I fell madly in love with her. She was supposed to be my baby. I felt drawn to her instantly. I was sure this would be my child. I came home, and then I got a call saying, we've terminated all the adoptions in Vietnam. The USINS is just causing too much trouble. The paperwork isn't complete. And so we're just terminating all those adoptions. And I was like, you just sent me around the world to Vietnam by myself for no reason. They said, pretty much, yeah. That was kind of the way things went for a long time. We tried to go to several different countries,
See,
and then eventually,
that must be. Sorry.
that's okay, no
That,
problem.
that must have been a really, really big problem for you because look all the stuff that you've been through. You've been through all the miscarriages. Two miscarriages. You've
Yes.
been led up the garden path, really, ain't you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? 'Cause you went all the way to Vietnam, right?
Yes.
Okay, and really they messed you about over there, and
Yes.
really they should have told you before you even touched on the plane.
Yes.
So and now you're left in limbo. So you come home and you're left in limbo, ain't you?
Yes. Yes. And we looked at several different other countries. We did the paperwork for about 5 other countries, and we just said, whatever happens first, we'll do. And in the end, kind of a spoiler alert, it's at the end of the book, but we ended up with a child that we ended up adopting domestically, but she was of Vietnamese descent, which is extremely unusual. And I got a call at the last minute. This domestic agency, because I had called a lot of domestic agencies asking them if you ever dealt with children who were already born, because I didn't want to be matched to a pregnant birth mom, and they said
Yeah.
almost never. And I would insist, please keep my number just in case. And that's exactly what happened. This couple was driving through Oklahoma, and they gave birth to this baby, and they called this agency. The agency didn't have anyone for the baby, and they remembered this crazy lady who had called them and told them this whole story about going to Vietnam. And lo and behold, here's a Vietnamese baby. And they called me and said, can you get here tonight? And I was like, what? No, I can't get there tonight. And they said, how about tomorrow? I said, all right, I'll be there in the morning. And I was up all night making all the arrangements, and I got there the next day. And that's my daughter. Um, so it was a crazy story. And I truly believe that everything that happened to me And you asked if I was spiritual, and in general, I'm not. But when it comes to this, it was so overwhelmingly clear that I could not be spiritual because I just had to believe everything had to happen to me in order for me to stall me to wait for my child to be born.
Yeah.
And she is very much my child. She's still the light of my life and everything wonderful. And I can't imagine my life without her. I can't imagine her being with anyone else.
And so so you adopted her now,
Hmm.
and how old is she now? How old is she?
She just turned 20.
She's 20.
Yes.
Wow. So
Yes.
she's 20, and what's it like to have adopted daughter? What's it
It's
like?
wonderful. It's wonderful. I actually have her, and then I have another son who was adopted at also at birth, and then I have a third child who was my surprise biological baby.
Beautiful. See, sometimes when we go through bad times in life, and I think when you get to a certain point, I think something happens for the good,
Yes.
and what you've been through, you deserve. I think you deserve that. I think that is kind of like, well, I believe that's really God given to you, and it's that's a wonderful story. And can I just get back to the front before
Yeah.
I about your miscarriages and stuff like that?
Hmm.
I bet that was really bad when you were going through the miscarriages because you always wanted you always wanted your own baby and everything, and all of a sudden you're kind of like one miscarriage went, two miscarriages went. Did you? But the trouble is, you never gave up hope, did you?
I did not. I didn't ever give up hope. And quite frankly, I wasn't overly attached to the idea of having my own child. It didn't. I wanted a child. I wanted to be a mother. Um, I know for a lot of people, deciding to adopt is a difficult decision.
Mm,
Um, it really wasn't for us. As soon as I had the first miscarriage, my husband said, "I don't want to go through that again." And I said, "Well, I feel like we should try one more time." And he said, "All right, we'll try one more time. But if that doesn't work, we're done. We're not doing this anymore because you were miserable through that miscarriage. That miscarriage was horrible, and you were not so pleasant to be around. And I don't want to keep doing that." Um, but it never, in retrospect and later, we kind of discussed, did we have a problem raising a child who wasn't biologically ours? But we never really did. It was never, for us, it wasn't really a problem.
mm,
We love our adopted children this just as much as the biological one. I don't ever think of them any differently from each other. I don't love one more than another at all.
yeah,
And I really, it doesn't even occur to me. Um, but it was a tough time. The whole miscarriage and going through that, and just it was in the book I refer to when I left Vietnam, when I was told that child that I had seen wasn't going to be mine. I felt like I had lost a third child, and I felt very attached
of
to that
course, yeah,
child,
yeah,
just the same as the two that I had miscarried. And it was just, so much loss and frustration of I became so attached to these children.
yeah, yeah. I thought I've read in I've read some books and I read a story the other day where a couple went to I can't remember Singapore and saw and got
Mm.
adopted child, but they had to pay for her,
Well, I
and
mean, there's costs
the,
associated with adoption.
no, it was done under cuff. It was done on the black market.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah, it was. See, because there's plenty of that out there, isn't it?
That's bizarre. Yeah, I don't know anything about that really. I think that's what they were trying. I think that was the whole problem that we had in Vietnam, and was that they found out that the paperwork wasn't being done properly. And I think that at that time, and again, this was 20 years ago, but the INS was investigating Vietnam, that there was some baby purchasing going on, or at
Mm,
least that was the concern. That was the what
mm,
they were worried about, and that's why we had so many problems, was because of that, and because they were worried about these things just not being done properly.
okay. And so, why the book now? Because this was 20 years ago.
It was. It was. Well, it all goes back to the pandemic. Isn't it amazing? I wrote this book. I actually originally wrote it down in 2007, and I wrote it down because it was such a crazy story, and I had been through so much that I really wanted my daughter to know what I had gone through to find her. And so I wrote it down just for her. She was really the only audience. And then I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. And after my children were born, I started working in the field of adoption. I started working with adoptive families. And I would tell them my story because I felt like it was a hopeful story. I felt like, when you're going through adoption, there's so much waiting. There's so much and it's such a difficult time
Mm,
that I would often tell my clients this story of, look, you just need to wait for your child to be born. And this is what happened to me. And I was sure that I could force things to happen and I could make them happen quicker. And there was no way. I couldn't make it happen any sooner than it was meant to happen.
mm,
And I would tell them my whole story, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, they felt so much better," and I was very inspirational to them. And they all told me, "You need to sit down and write a book." And I said, "Well, I kind of already did." But then I said, "All right, maybe I'll look at publishing it." And in about 2009, I opened the book and I read through the first chapter, and it took me about 4 hours to read the first chapter because I cried the entire time. It was just so emotional for me that I wasn't ready yet. It wasn't its
mm.
time yet. And I put it back in the computer, said, nope, not opening that again. Never. And I will open it when my daughter Hillary wants to read it. And then this last year, um, obviously life kind of came to a halt. And I had, again, signs from the universe. I was on the PTA and I did some writing for the PTA, and they all said, "Oh my gosh, what kind of writing do you do? Are you an author?" And I said, "No, what are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, this history you wrote was just amazing." And then I had, someone else tell me, "Jennifer, you're clearly so bored. You need to do something to feed your soul." And at the same time, the very same week, a friend of mine posted on Facebook that he had written a book. And I said, "You know what? The universe is telling me it's time to pull this book off the computer." And so I got involved in the program that he was working on. I pulled the book off the computer and I edited it, totally rewrote it. But I'm glad I had it all written down so I could remember all the facts. And that's why now. And again, the universe was telling me it was time to share this story with the world.
Good. And when does it come out?
It's expected to be published in December of this year, 2021. In the third week of July, I believe around the 22nd or so, we're going to be doing our pre-sale launch campaign. And uh, you can find me on social media. I have a website, journeytomydaughter.com, and you can find information on that. But the pre-sale campaign, you'll be able to pre-purchase, and part of that's cool is that the people who pre-order the book, they kind of get to go through this journey with me, which it's super exciting being a first-time author and going through this and all the things involved. It's writing the book has been almost as much of a journey as the journey that I wrote about in the book. It's been amazing, and I've loved sharing. I have a newsletter that you can get to from my website, and I just share all the little bits. I just made a video trailer for the book, which I just finished. I literally just got it this morning, got the final product. And I was telling people about, how I chose the music and how I chose the video clips, the kind of behind the scenes of what it's like to be an author. And I share that with the people who subscribe to my newsletter and then who pre-order the book.
Right. Again, so tell people what your website is.
It's journeytomydaughter.com.
There you
Just
go.
the
There
title
you
of the
go.
book.
Yeah. Okay. So that will go on our website and everything.
Great.
And thank you very much for joining us. That was really good. That was an interesting story. Really good. And Yeah, thank you very much. And what we will do, we will share this. This will go out all over the place, and hopefully, you will get some response, and and I wish you all the best for your book because at the end of the day, you deserve everything that's coming to you.
Thank you so much. I'm really doing this because I want to share my story. I'm hoping to provide some hope and some guidance to people who are either struggling with the decision to adopt or even just with something else in their life. It's an entertaining story, but it's more than that. It's a very hopeful,
Yeah,
faithful story.
yeah, you're giving people hope. I've got some messages here for you. Um,
Okay.
Hi, Steve. Thank you very much. I love your program as always. Um, would it be possible if you could have Jennifer back again and talk about more about adoption because I'm interested in adoption? I will ask her. I will definitely ask her for you. Hi, Steve. I love Jennifer's story. Thank you very much for getting her on. Really, really good. Love to hear more. Um, can you get her back? Um, oh gosh. Hi, Jennifer. I love your story. Lots of love. Um, I'll tell you what, you're getting loads of love here. I
Aw.
see. Thank you for letting Jennifer come onto your program. I know you're all about caring and hope, and this is one thing that's got me going now. I'm prepared to kind of like dot. Um, I find it very difficult. I lost three children in the past through miscarriage.
Oh, yes.
Going through a bad time at the moment, but I decided to adopt. My husband left me because of these miscarriages. But I believe that time will heal. But in the meantime, I'm going to adopt. I hope everything
Wonderful.
goes through. Um, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what. I wish you all the best. Really best because sometimes it's really tough. It's a long process for adoption. Do
It
do
can
you?
be.
Yeah, yeah. It's really tough. Okay, folks, I've got to go because I've got another show to do. I don't finish until around about 12 tonight,
Oh,
UK time.
goodness.
So in the meantime, guys, God bless you and catch you up with you later. Jennifer, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we'll probably get you on again, talk about adoption and everything, if that's all right.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you very much.
you.
Bye bye, guys.